So customer experience management is fundamentally about trying to find ways to ensure that customers have a surprisingly delightful and effective experience with your business across all channels. And therein lies, I think, probably the fundamental problem, right? So, because customers don't see businesses as channels, they see businesses as businesses, they see them as brands. And so it's being able to ensure that across all of those touch points that they're working consistently, that when a customer comes to you asking for what they want from you, that you're able to respond effectively. And that means beginning understanding customers, understanding what they need, and having the tools and the processes in place to be able to respond effectively to those needs as they change. So I think businesses have always been aware of how important the customer experience is. I'm not certain that that's kind of an age-old problem of business. I think the challenge comes in, one, with large organizations. It comes with multi-channel organizations and the kind of division of labor that naturally occurs when you're trying to figure out how to structure a business that has lots of different silos, as it were. The efficient way to make a business work is to chop it up into silos and give those silos responsibility. The problem with that, of course, is those silos then have various people sometimes doing the same things, but sometimes with very deep skill sets that no longer talk to each other. And the customer doesn't understand those divisions. And so, and then they don't actually have the ability to understand as silos what's happening in the other silos, and the coordination across those becomes a problem. You have businesses that will also sometimes set their channels against each other. But I think just generally, people spend their time focusing on how to improve their area because they don't feel like they either have the authority or the knowledge to be able to change or influence any other parts of the business. And there's rarely anyone in the organization whose role it is to join all those things up. And even if there is someone, it's usually to join that kind of a large business, you're working at such a high level that the detailed aspects of what makes a good customer experience are too far remote from you to be able to deal with. So in fact, actually, what has to happen is you need someone at the top to kind of coordinate the strategy. But then you also need ways of connecting people at the customer-facing parts of the business and empowering them to be able to respond effectively. And I think those are things that are actually very hard for most businesses to do because they run counter to the logic of how you organize businesses in order to be efficient. Well, I think IT both hinders and helps the customer experience by the very nature of the fact that most of our customer experiences today are enabled or facilitated by technology. Whether you're calling a call center and using IVR, the systems that they use to understand who you are when you call, or whether you're going online and using a website. I mean, even when you go in store now, you even get people with headsets who are talking to the back office, or you get kiosks. There's also, technology is everywhere. And as we enter the kind of Internet of Things, where devices and services and things are all joined up, and technology is mediating that, you have the opportunity for massive catastrophes, and you have the opportunity for delivering really great experiences. And I think the companies that don't think of IT as customer-facing are probably at risk of creating real problems for themselves. And if you look at companies like Apple, you look at companies like Virgin, you look at companies like First Direct. I mean, there's even Zara on the high street, where technology is seen as an enabling force in the way in which they engage with their customers in any of those channels, and they are companies which are winning, and I think that's the thing that people need to look at. It's not some geeks in a back room writing software. It's people actually creating the tools that are going to enable you as a business to be successful. So I think the biggest challenge that companies trying to improve their customer experience have is fundamentally looking at their business holistically. I think it's very easy for businesses to focus on themselves, on how they work, their performance, their operational performance, their efficiencies, and all the other things that make a business tick. And I also think that companies collect a lot of metrics about their performance, about their customers, about what's going on, and they see the world analytically. They see customers as data and not as people. And I'm reminded of an experience that I had with Virgin Airlines not long ago, where there was a very long queue at the airport. And all the other airlines had long queues, and we were all sitting there. And you could see people getting very frustrated because there weren't enough people at the desk. There's clearly some other issues in the airport that was affecting Virgin's service. And Virgin sent the people who were coming out to look at your passports not just to look at the passports, but to begin to ask people about where they're coming from, where they're going, how their holiday was, and they started getting people in the line to talk to each other. And within 10, 15 minutes, you had this entire queue of people that were standing twice as long as they were meant to be standing in the queue, feeling very good about their experience. And I think it's seeing people, customers, as people first, and not as numbers, and then seeing your business as a kind of a holistic service to those people, which is actually the real challenge, because it is, again, a problem with the way in which you structure businesses is that you see them as a source of income, or potentially problems, and not necessarily the people that are actually not as human beings. And I think the spending time with customers, getting to know customers, seeing how they interact with you, with other businesses, understanding that is actually probably very difficult for most companies.